Like, there was a time in my life I remember distinctly where, like, if I was posed with this question, like, man, would you save the world or rewrite or let it go? And every day, man, it's just like, I guess as you get older, it's just something about you seeing the truth of the matter, which is people aren't decent. Nani? Dynamite. Let's get into Matthew McConaughey's comments. He just finished speaking at the presser. He actually had some interesting things to say, so I would like to cover that. He's talking about mass shootings, and I think it's a relevant topic, especially since he's from Uvalde, Texas, which is where the most recent shooting of nation notoriety comes from. And notice I say the most, like, gets the most notification, because there's been at least 60 mass shootings since Uvalde, or since, not even since Uvalde, since the last time we streamed, which was 5 days ago. that's something I've quietly put underneath I think is a mass shooting counter. It's underneath here, and I'm tracking these things, but I'm tracking them, and this was 232 if I'm not mistaken. So in the course of span of 5 days, that's what we're talking about here. But let's get some of his remarks, hear some of his feedback. Like I said, I felt he had something interesting to add to the conversation. It's a long clip. We're not going to watch the whole thing. I have certain ones I want to talk about. So let's hear him out.
Matthew McConaughey has been on the Hill all day, meeting with his leaders from Texas, where he grew up. He's specifically from Uvalde, Texas. Let's see if he got anywhere.
To make the loss of these lives matter. My wife and I, Camila, we spent most of last week on the ground with the families in Uvalde, Texas. We shared stories, tears, and memories. The common thread, independent of the anger and the confusion and the sadness, it was the same. How can these families continue to honor these deaths by keeping the dreams of these children and teachers alive? Again, how can the loss of these lives matter? So while we honor and acknowledge the victims, we need to recognize that this time, it seems that something is different. There is a sense that perhaps there's a viable path forward. Responsible parties in this debate seem to at least be committed to sitting down and having a real conversation about a new and improved path forward. A path that can bring us closer together and make us safer as a country. A path that can actually get something done this time. Camila and I came here to share my stories from my hometown of Uvalde. We came here to take meetings with elected officials on both sides of the aisle. We came here to speak to them, to speak with them, and to urge them to speak with each other. To remind and inspire them that the American people will continue to drive forward the mission of keeping our children safe, because it's more than our right to do so, it's our responsibility to do so. I'm here today in the hopes of applying what energy, reason, and passion that I have into trying to turn this moment into a reality. Because as I said, this moment is different. We are in a window of opportunity right now that we have not been in before. A window where it seems like real change can happen. Uvalde, Texas is where I was born. It's where my mom taught kindergarten less than a mile from Robb Elementary. Uvalde is where I learned to master a daisy.
And I just wanted to state the importance of him talking about him being from Uvalde, because a lot of Republicans and a lot of people on the right are coming out with statements saying shit, just the most off the wall shit, right? Like, to make a statement like he's too Hollywood to know what it's like. My man's grew up there. There's one thing you gonna know about somebody, you gonna know where they're from and where their heart lives, right? So for people to come out here saying reckless things like he's too Hollywood. That's just showing an issue with you, right? That's really just showing an issue with your heart, something wrong with you, for you not to acknowledge that this man is grieving his own township. Like, I'm not from, like, that's like something crazy happening in Cal City and somebody telling me because I don't live there anymore, I can't feel for those people anymore. And that's just really weird to me. Like, that's a weird flex. Like, that's not a flex that I'd be proud of. But you'll see a lot of Republicans taking that hot take on Twitter. Let's fast forward here some.
Alethea. She was one of the 19 children that were killed the day before. Now, Alethea, her dream was to go to art school in Paris and one day share her art with the world. Ryan and Jessica were eager to share Alethea's art with us and said if we could share it, that somehow, maybe that would make Alethea smile in heaven. They told us that showing someone else Alethea's art would in some way keep her alive. Now, this particular drawing is a self-portrait, all right, of Alethea drawing with her friend in heaven looking down on her, drawing the very same picture. Her mother said of this drawing, she said, you know, we never really talked to her about heaven before, but somehow she knew.
And that's sort of sad and depressing in the same way, because the fact that there are 10-year-olds that have to come to the understanding about what death is at such a young age doesn't sit well in my soul, right? There's something weary about a kid having an understandable, not like from watching their goldfish die or some shit, but because they know people that they've associated. Like, you're a 10-year-old kid. You've only had your brain for 10 years. I can't tell you the things that did not matter to me as a 10-year-old, that these kids are different. Like, when they tell those stories about, man, back in my day, we were a lot tougher. Like, there's no generation of kids that will ever be this tough ever again. And that should be like a promise from us to them, that you shouldn't have to be this tough. You as a kid shouldn't know first aid on the level of stopping to stop a massive bleeding, right? That's what a lot of these kids are growing up to be now. Just absorbers of trauma.
Alethea, she did not get to go to SeaWorld. We also met Anna and Danilo, the mom and the stepdad of 9-year-old Maite Rodriguez.
And I'll say, for what this is worth, I know last week we were talking about celebrities being invited to the White House and how annoying that was to me. If you do bring them for this reason. And I'm not saying that the BTS crew wasn't there, but they were there for a photo op. That was a law that already passed. That was something that was already being signed. We need advocates for shit that we need that isn't being pushed hard enough. It's mind-boggling that this is something that we have to do. We have to bring celebrities into the White House.
Maite wanted to be a marine biologist. She was already in contact with Corpus Christi University of A&M for her future college enrollment. 9 years old. Maite cared for the environment so strongly that when the city asked her mother if they could release some balloons into the sky in her memory, her mom said, oh no, Maite wouldn't want to litter. Maite wore green high-top Converse with a heart she had hand-drawn on the right toe because they represented her love of nature. Camila's got these shoes. Can you show these shoes, please? Wore these every day.
Dreadful.
Green Converse with a heart on the right toe. These are the same green Converse on her feet that turned out to be the only clear evidence that could identify her after the shooting. How about that?
Could you imagine being shot to the extent? And this is the argument against AR-15s. What are you hunting that needs to be shot by this? Like, what are you trying to shoot, or what are you trying to, like, there was a congressperson who said something about wanting to use them to shoot prairie dogs. If you shot a prairie dog with an AR-15, that it would blow the fuck. It would turn into pieces. It would just shred. Because that's what happened to these kids. And we'll get a very graphic example of what exactly went on here.
Maite wrote a letter. Her mom said if Maite's letter could help someone accomplish her dream, that then her death would have an impact. And it would mean her dying had a point and wasn't pointless. That it would
What up, Dollar Bill?
make the loss
Thanks for
of
joining the
her
stream,
life
man.
matter. The letter reads, Marine biologist, I want to pass school to get to my dream college. My dream college is in Corpus Christi by the ocean.
That's as a person who's been to Corpus Christi and, you know, been to that university, a 10-year-old dream to go to college. Who wants? It's tough shit out here, man. Trying to say you want to raise kids today. My heart goes out to everyone who has children, who are like, you're brave souls to want to raise kids. A big reason why why I'm not feeling pressed for the whole kids conversation is because who wants to raise kids in this, right? Who wants to raise kids where she had one dream of going to fucking SeaWorld and she's never gonna do it. Some of her best artwork was of her friends in heaven, almost implying she was just waiting to get there. Man, that's tough. Oh, okay then, T. I'll see you in like an hour. We gonna be on.
Mortuary makeup. That's the task of making the victims appear as peaceful and natural as possible for their open casket viewings. These bodies were very different. They needed much more than makeup to be presentable. They needed extensive restoration. Mm-hmm. Why? Due to the exceptionally large exit wounds of an AR-15 rifle. Most of the body so mutilated that only DNA test or green Converse could identify them. Many children were left not only dead but hollow.
That's tough. That's tough. And I've been on the scene of a few crimes where, you know, people get mutilated, people get hit by trains. Two of the most graphic ones that stay with me: the smell of one and the visual of another. The smell of pulling someone out of a lake after they've been sitting at the bottom of it for like 3 days. They hadn't even fully decomposed, but the smell of that will never leave my mental. It lives there. And then the next one is when a dude got hit by a train. We had to carry that man away in Ziploc bags, right? In Ziploc bags.
Look, we heard from so many people, right? Families of the deceased, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, Texas Rangers, hunters, Border Patrol, and responsible gun owners who won't give up their Second Amendment right to bear arms. And you know what they all said? We want secure and safe schools, and we want gun laws that won't make it so easy for the bad guys to get these damn guns.
Who's the bad? Like, this is a fair point. I'll agree on this. And in my mind, in the big picture of everything, I would much have a situation where there are no guns. But I understand that's not going to be possible, not now. And not enough people have died, unfortunately. Well, and that's the question, right? In America, it's not so much about like what it takes to get the job done, because we have all the capabilities. It's about how many people have suffered. And if you want to use the pandemic, for example, at the point of where 1 million people died during the pandemic, we were willing to open things all the way back up. We were like, okay, we're good. Let's open up. Let's get this show on the road, right? That's where things were. That's where things are. That's how bad things had to get. So like, if we could just do common sense things. We're not asking for, like, there to be an all-out railing of taking all the guns. We just need basic common sense, like things that gun owners want. As a person who owns a gun, the only reason why I got a gun in my house is to protect my house. If I don't take my gun outside, I don't feel the need to, and honestly, I don't feel safe with it on me because of the perceived threat that I will be taken as. So, like, if I conceal carry, it's just not. There's something really dystopian about it to me. So I only use it at the house. I only use it for those occasions where someone thinks they're gonna get a lick off of me. And to be honest, unless you're coming to cause me mortal harm, if you just come here to steal, I might make you a sandwich. Because killing you over physical property and things that insurance cover is not a high priority to me. It's just not a high priority to me. Someone stealing my car, hey, you can have that shit. You know how long I've been trying to get insurance to give me a payment on that? Give me a reason to buy an electric car. But it's become too much now. The conversation has evolved past this. They're trying to take our guns. No one's trying to take your guns at this point. We just want to have basic rules of place, because the bad guys can literally buy a gun same day, turn around and kill hundreds of people. No mental evaluation. Like, the GOP has been using mental sickness and mental illness as things. Mental illness is a thing everywhere. You think America invented mental illness? It happens everywhere. And the fact that we use it as an excuse, but we cut from the mental health budgets. The fact that there are more police in schools than there are guidance counselors, nurses, social workers, and any other resources to after school resources to support these kids combined. The fact that school budgets have now slowly started to pay 25% of their annual budget to resource officers versus getting them nurses and healthcare providers in the school is baffling. And then to top it all off, to find out that the Supreme Court has already ruled these police officers are not obligated to save no one. The protect and serve on their car is literally just a suggestion. It's a suggestion. So why are they there? Why are we suggesting we do better by kids and not advocating, not forcing better? Like, it's all fun and games till it's your kid, and that's the part that I really need to get people to understand. I don't have kids, and this shit is traumatizing to me. So, like, I can't imagine what it feels like for other people who have kids in the system. That it can't be real life.
And let's admit it, we can't truly be leaders if we're only living for re-election. Let's be knowledgeable and wise and act on what we truly believe. Again, we got to look in the mirror, lead with humility, and acknowledge the values that are inherent to, but also above politics. We got to make choices, make stands, embrace new ideas, and preserve the traditions that can create true progress for the next generation.
You know, he wanted to run for governor of Texas, and if this is his, like, platform for doing it, he has a strong heading. It's just common sense at this point. We don't have to make this political. It's just common sense at this point. And Matthew McConaughey, for what it's worth, makes a great statement here. His politics aren't very clear to me, but his common sense, what he's trying to do, and that's just basically get people to come and sit down and have a conversation at the table. There was a very interesting part at the end, and you can only imagine that this was someone who's like someone from Fox News. After giving a speech on 21 minutes on why he's like doing this and the fact that he's from Uvalde, some idiot says some shit at the end. So I just want to get that part.
I'm making the loss of these lives.
When you spoke to the president, did he say anything about this? Are the changes that are being discussed enough for you, Mr. McConaughey?
Thank you.
Thank you.
When
you spoke to the president, did he say anything about this? Are the changes that are being discussed enough for you?
So somebody screams out from the crowd of news reporters, "Were you grandstanding right now?" And if that's not like the most disgusting thing ever, I don't know what is, because once again, Matthew McConaughey is from Uvalde, so he has no reason to sit here and like pretend like he's not part of this community. Like, he grew up there, he raised there. His mother was a teacher at the school less than a mile away from there. He learned about weapons and things like that. Like, it's crazy to me that people like they just can't. People are not decent, man, and that's why I don't really fuck with the world anymore. Like, there was a time in my life I remember distinctly where, like, if I was posed with this question, like, man, would you save the world or rewrite or let it go? And every day, man, it's just like, I guess as you get older, it's just something about you seeing the truth of the matter, which is people aren't decent. They're just not, and you just try your best to maintain and hold on to things that you want to hold on to. But, you know, my objective in this was to kind of give us a perspective from a universal perspective, actually, like trying to get a better understanding of what is it going to take for us to do, like how many people gotta die, like who or how many people have to, like, what's that golden number that we need to get to, because this ticker right here of 292 mass shootings have already occurred is not going down. So what is it going to take, right? So hopefully we can get those answers. But, you know, shout out to Matthew McConaughey, and also shout out to the White House for actually bringing celebrities in to talk about issues that are happening now that aren't for are not for grandstanding situations. And once again, just do what the people need you to do, Joe Biden and company. Just do what people do. But let me know what you think about Matthew McConaughey's comments. Like, share, and subscribe. We have more of the show coming up, like literally right now.